In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the Matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. This is Bryce D. Nyer with another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix here in the house with our favorite Labrador Retriever, Drake. Yabba. Woo! All right, we got an excellent topic for tonight. And we're going to call it Weaponized Confusion. We're going to talk about it. Yeah, and I'll tell you why we're going to talk about it. Because I'm intensely involved in litigation. And sometimes when you get intensely involved in litigation, you have to deal with opposing counsel that are very difficult to deal with. They're kind of like the jihadi lawyers. So what exactly is this thing called weaponized confusion? So it's anytime everything basically becomes ambiguous, you're overloaded, and you're just stuck in this fog, what I'll call a procedural fog. And people do this to try and make you feel powerless. And it actually shows up when your deadlines are constantly shifting or they're unclear. You get incomplete or vague communications, emails, text messages, phone calls. And then, of course, the jihadi lawyer, your documents arrive at the last minute. You have rules that are, referenced, but they're never clarified or explained. And most opposing counsel speak in some, legal jargon instead of just like getting to the point, speaking in the plain language. And then a lot of times you're just under this immense pressure to like respond immediately without full information, whether it's to the court, the lawyer, or the client. Now, sometimes, the goal isn't always bad or malicious. Sometimes they're just incompetent. And sometimes it's the culture, the nature of the beast. Sometimes it's the opposing counsel's strategy. But here's the deal. The fallout, the effect is the same. You start to lose the clarity, the confidence, and the control that you normally or you should normally have. And this is how this confusion becomes like a trap for you would-be lawyers, you law students, and you lawyers. It works because it triggers you into this fight or flight mode. You start reacting instead of having clarity and thinking. You start doubting yourself. Hey, maybe I screwed up. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I committed malpractice. You get into this thing called overcompliance. You just tell people yes. You don't know how to say no. You just want to stop the pressure. Then, or you alternatively, you go into this thing, you just get silent. You go on stealth mode and you don't ask questions because you just don't want to look uninformed. And then eventually you start getting mentally, spiritually, and emotionally fatigued. You actually stop, representing yourself, advocating for yourself. This is how law students and lawyers, how they get pulled deeper into this abyss called the legal matrix. And here's kind of the breakdown, the mechanics behind this tactic that's used. And these are really a lot of the most common things you'll see or ways that to confuse your confusion is used as, what's that term? Leverage. Yeah, it's used as leverage. So you have this thing, let's break it down. It's called like information asymmetry. What does that mean? It means one side knows the rules, the other doesn't. You kind of see that as a shift and change in the courtroom. Then they clutter you up with what I call the procedural clutter. It's basically unnecessary documents, unnecessary steps that just drain the life right out of you. Then we get into, like we talked about, the ambiguous communications. They type all this crap in there that say everything, and then when you really filter through it, it doesn't say anything. Or here's what I love. This happened recently. Opposing counsel or the enemy, basically their last-minute disclosures of information at the last minute. And basically, it results in forcing you to have to make these rush decisions. Or, you get, contradictory instructions from the court or somebody else, and it creates a I wouldn't call it a win-win. I call it a no-win scenario. Okay. And then you have people that like they're authority posturing. They use their, know-it-all tone or, holier than thou tone in their titles or other slang or jargon or whatever crap they use to try and intimidate you. And what this causes is it creates this mental or psychological fog that really benefits them because they love to live and operate in chaos, and chaos will kill you every time. And so then you have to figure out, okay, how do I break out of this chaos? How do I break out of this fog? Well, this is where your skill sets and your voice kind of like, you got to be a patient advocate for yourself, and you got to use strategy. You got to be strategic. So here's what you got to do. You got to remember, when the enemy tries to confuse you, confusion, it thrives on the urgency of the situation. You got to back away, take a good look at it. You got to slow things down, slow this pace. And, you got to ask the opposing counsel, ask for things specifically, because clarity always kills their manipulation. Okay. And then you got to name what the tactic is. And the biggest thing is, like, I'm learning, especially with some of my opposing counsel, even after all these decades I've been litigating, is you got to document everything. Because this confusion, this chaos, it starts to dissolve and evaporate under the evidence of what you have when you document it. And you got to set boundaries. You really do. You don't want to go off on a jihad, okay, and become a jihadi lawyer yourself. You communicate and you respond once you have all the complete information. And don't use slang and jargon. Just get to the point. Just use your plain language skills and reclaim the narrative. Reclaim the narrative. And make checklists and timelines and things of that nature to give you structure, because that becomes a cure, or I guess you could say, well, the antidote to the fog. And these are things that really you've got to learn, even as a law student, as you go into the legal matrix when you become a licensed attorney. Because look, when you get out there, listen, law students, we get out there. I get you're all in this academic world now, and you young lawyers are all excited to go to court. But I'm telling you, years down the road, decades down the road, you're going to get tired. You're going to get burned out. You're going to get drained emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And it's a lot of times it's going to be because of this tactic that the system, the legal matrix, lawyers, judges, whoever, they're going to use this. They're going to use this to where it tries to wear you down. It tries to wear you down. It really does. It's a weaponized confusion. Almost like lawfare, which is weaponized legal systems against those that live and operate in truth. And what do? They converge upon you to weaken you, to tire you, to where you question everything you do or say. This has happened to me. I've done it. Sometimes I question, am I doing the right thing? Am I getting things done? And it's because I allow all this chaos, this confusion, this fog to enter into the equation. And sometimes I just have to go do a walk and talk and just get up, get out of the office, go out and just clear my head and get away from everybody and everything, and not allow the confusion and the chaos by the clown circus to enter into my world, because it becomes a Trojan horse. Okay. You let it in because you don't set boundaries, and you allow this weaponized confusion to enter into your world. Okay. And then that's why you become overloaded. This is why you get into a fog about everything, because everything is constantly shifting and changing. And it's constantly changing and shifting because you're like this boat, and your rudder's broken, and you're pinging off the banks, okay, from the water, left to right, and spinning. And the water, the current's just taking you where it wants to take you until you fix the rudder, okay? Until you can then steer in the right direction that you want to go. So don't let the opposing side, don't let people, don't let agencies, don't let governments use this weaponized confusion against you. Okay. And again, sometimes it isn't always, malicious or with ill intent. A lot of times it is. Sometimes, again, it's just because they're incompetent, they're stupid, or it's just the culture, the nature of the beast. And more often times than not, that I've experienced in my decades of practice, it's actually the opposing side's strategy. But again, the effect is the same. If you allow it to happen, you're going to lose clarity, your confidence is going to wane, and you're going to lose control of your body being balanced and your business if you let that happen. Don't let weaponized confusion become a trap and keep you entrapped in the legal matrix. Okay? So ask the better question. Who or what right now is attacking you with this weaponized confusion in your life, whether it's personal or it's business? And once you answer that question, that better question, then come up with the solution about what you need to do to combat it, to neutralize it. Find the cure to it and deal with it. Don't let it linger. Don't let it grow. When cancers grow, that's when they kill. You got to go in there and you got to take them out. All right, this is Bryce Denier with Drake the Labrador Retriever in the house. This has been another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix, coming live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. Every day, men and women do what? They go wage war against our enemies to seek to do what? To take the very rights that we so often take for what? Granted. Answer it. Granted. Okay? And we don't want to do that. So again, ask that better question. Who or what is weaponizing confusion against you? All right, this is Bryce and Drake, and we are out of here.